Today we're going to tackle a question most people never think about. Can you actually drink too much water? I want to start by telling you about a patient I met a few years ago. We'll call him Mark. Mark was the picture of modern health. A 35-year-old software engineer, an avid cyclist, a real weekend warrior who took his fitness seriously. And like many of us, he was deep into the online wellness world. He followed fitness influencers, read articles on biohacking, and was always looking for that next thing to optimize his performance. One piece of advice he really took to heart was, hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. So he bought a 2-liter water bottle and made it his mission to drain it at least twice a day. He saw it as a badge of honor. While his coworkers were on their third coffee, Mark was methodically sipping water. He believed he was purifying his body, boosting his energy, and priming his muscles for his next bike ride. In his mind, every single gulp was a step toward peak physical condition. He'd even preached to his friends about it, telling them to up their water intake. And for a while he felt great. Or at least he thought he did. The belief that more water is always better is everywhere. We're told it gives you glowing skin, speeds up your metabolism, and flushes out toxins. For Mark, drinking 4 to 5 liters a day felt like the ultimate form of self-care. It was a tangible goal he could track. He wasn't in some dangerous water drinking contest. He was consciously choosing to do this, believing it was the key to his health. And that's what makes his story so chilling. He was, in essence, poisoning himself in the pursuit of wellness, and he had no idea. He thought the constant need to pee was a good thing, a sign his body was cleansing itself. He saw his crystal-clear urine as proof of superior hydration. These were all signs of success in his mind. The terrible irony is that these were actually the first subtle warnings that his body was in distress, completely overwhelmed by the sheer volume of water it was trying to process. It started with a headache. Not a migraine, just a dull, persistent throb right behind his eyes. Mark, a logical guy, figured it was from staring at his computer screen all day. He took some pain medicine, but when that didn't help, he did what he thought was best. He drank more water, thinking maybe he was dehydrated. About a week later, the fatigue hit. This was a deep, bone-crushing weariness that a full night's sleep couldn't fix. He felt drained after his bike rides, not energized. His legs felt heavy, and he started getting weird muscle twitches and cramps, especially at night. As an athlete, he knew muscle soreness, but this was different. These were sharp, involuntary spasms that were really unsettling. He just wrote it off as overtraining. Then came the nausea, a queasy feeling that would come and go, making it hard to eat. This was the most confusing part for him. How could he feel sick when he was eating so clean and hydrating so well? He started feeling irritable and mentally foggy. At work, he struggled to focus on coding problems that were usually easy for him. He called it a constant brain fog he just couldn't shake. This is a classic and dangerous pattern. The early symptoms of what Mark was experiencing are vague and so easy to blame on other things. Headache? Stress. Fatigue? Working too hard. Muscle cramps? Exercise. Nausea and confusion? Maybe you're getting sick. He was trapped in this dangerous feedback loop. He misinterpreted every single symptom through the lens of standard health advice. Feeling tired and headachy? You're probably dehydrated. Drink more water. And that's exactly what he did. With every symptom, he reached for that giant water bottle and took another long drink, thinking he was taking the cure when he was actually doubling down on the poison. His girlfriend noticed the change. He seemed withdrawn, not as sharp. She got really concerned when he seemed disoriented during a conversation, totally forgetting what they were talking about. For Mark, the most frustrating part was the disconnect. He was doing everything right, living healthier than anyone he knew, but he felt worse than ever. The whole situation finally came to a head on a Saturday morning. Mark woke up feeling incredibly sick. The dull headache was now a throbbing agony. The nausea was so bad he had to run to the bathroom to vomit. When he stood up, the room spun violently, and he felt this terrifying sense of confusion, like he was completely detached from reality. He stumbled back to bed, his body shaking. His girlfriend found him moments later, pale, sweating, and barely able to speak. He was just mumbling. He couldn't form a complete sentence. She knew this was more than just the flu. This was an emergency. She called an ambulance. I first met Mark when he was wheeled into my resuscitation bay in the ER. He looked dazed, his eyes were unfocused, and he was agitated, unable to answer our basic questions. His vital signs were alarming. His heart rate was slow, and his blood pressure was high, a strange combination that immediately put us on high alert. While the paramedics were giving us their report, suggesting a stroke or a bad infection, Mark's body suddenly went rigid. His eyes rolled back, and he started having a grand mal seizure. That's the moment a medical mystery turns into a life-or-death race. The seizure was a catastrophic sign that something was critically wrong in his brain. We immediately pushed anti-seizure medication while the team worked to stabilize him. We drew blood for urgent labs and rushed him for an emergency CT scan of his brain to rule out a bleed or a tumor. The CT scan came back clear. That was both a relief and just deepened the mystery. But then the lab results started to hit the screen. His kidney and liver function were fine, but one number was flashing in critical red: his sodium. A normal blood sodium level is between 135 and 145. Mark's was 120. Suddenly it all made sense. The headache, the fatigue, the muscle cramps, the nausea, the confusion, and now the seizure. These weren't separate issues. They were all symptoms of one devastating diagnosis: severe acute hyponatremia. It wasn't a stroke or a tumor. My patient, the picture of health, was dying because he drank too much water. His brain was swelling inside his skull, and the seizure was a desperate cry for help from his neurons. We had our answer. Now we had to save his life. To understand how this happened to Mark, we need to talk about sodium. We usually think of sodium as the bad guy, the thing in salty foods. But in your body, sodium is a critical electrolyte. Think of it as the bouncer for your body's fluid balance. It's in charge of keeping the right amount of water inside and outside every single cell in your body, from your muscles to your brain. Your body is obsessed with balance, a state we call homeostasis. That healthy blood sodium level is kept in a very narrow range of 135 to 145. Your kidneys are the master regulators here. They're incredible filters, processing massive amounts of blood every day, deciding what to keep and what to throw out. When you drink water, it gets absorbed into your bloodstream. If you drink a bit too much, your kidneys just make more urine to get rid of the excess water and keep your sodium levels stable. But there's a limit. A healthy adult's kidneys can get rid of, at most, about 1 liter of water per hour. When you drink water faster than your kidneys can handle it, or you drink huge volumes all day long, like Mark's 4 to 5 liters, you overwhelm the system. Imagine your bloodstream is a glass of perfectly salted water. If you start pouring glass after glass of fresh water into it, the solution gets more and more diluted. That's exactly what was happening in Mark's body. All that extra water was diluting the sodium in his blood, causing his levels to plummet. That's hyponatremia. Hypo meaning low, and natremia referring to sodium. So why is this so dangerous? It all comes down to osmosis. Water naturally moves from an area of low salt concentration to an area of high salt concentration to create balance. When your blood becomes too watery, too low in sodium, water rushes into your cells, where the sodium concentration is now higher. You can picture each cell like a tiny water balloon. As water floods in, the cell swells up. In most of your body, there's some room for that. But your brain is a different story. Your brain is locked inside a rigid, bony skull. There is no room to expand. As brain cells swell with water, the pressure inside the skull skyrockets. This is called cerebral edema, and it's the cause of all those terrifying neurological symptoms. The initial pressure causes the headache and confusion. As it gets worse, it disrupts the electrical signals in the brain, leading to seizures, and if it's not fixed, it can crush the brainstem, the part that controls breathing and heartbeat, leading to a coma and death. Mark's seizure was a direct result of his brain cells swelling to a breaking point. His healthy habit had turned water into a poison. Mark's story is extreme, but you don't have to be drinking 5 liters a day to run into trouble. Certain groups of people are definitely more at risk for hyponatremia. First up, endurance athletes. Marathon runners, triathletes, people doing long, intense exercise. They lose a lot of sodium through sweat, and then often overcompensate by chugging plain water, which dilutes their blood sodium even more. This is why you see athletes using sports drinks with electrolytes, not just water, during long events. Older adults are another vulnerable group. As we age, our kidney function can become less efficient, making it harder to get rid of excess water. Plus, older adults are more likely to be on medications or have health conditions that mess with their sodium balance. That brings us to the next big risk factor: medical conditions. People with congestive heart failure, liver disease, or kidney disease have a much harder time regulating fluid and sodium. Their bodies tend to hold on to fluid, making it much easier to become overhydrated. And finally, this is a really important one: certain medications can seriously increase your risk. The most common culprits are diuretics, also known as water pills, especially a type called thiazide diuretics, which are often prescribed for high blood pressure. Some antidepressants and pain medications can also interfere with the hormones that regulate your body's water balance. For someone with one of these conditions or taking one of these medications, even a moderate increase in water intake could be enough to cause hyponatremia. This is why it's so important to talk to your doctor about your specific fluid needs if you fall into any of these categories. So, if the 8 glasses a day rule is a myth, how much water should you actually drink? The truth is, there's no magic number. Your ideal water intake depends on a ton of factors: your age, size, activity level, the climate you live in, and your overall health. Instead of counting glasses, the best advice is simply to listen to your body. You have 2 brilliant built-in hydration meters. The first one is thirst. For most healthy people, thirst is an incredibly reliable signal that you need to drink. If you feel thirsty, your body is telling you it's time to rehydrate. The goal isn't to force water down all day to prevent thirst. It's to drink when your body asks you to. The second, and maybe even more useful indicator, is the color of your urine. Think of it like a traffic light. If your urine is dark yellow or amber, that's a red light. You're dehydrated and need to drink more. If it's a pale, straw-like yellow, that's your green light. You're perfectly hydrated. But if your urine is consistently crystal clear, like plain water, that's a yellow warning light. It's a sign you're probably drinking too much and should cut back a bit. The goal isn't to flush your system until your urine is clear. It's to maintain that healthy, pale yellow color. That shows your kidneys are happy and your body is perfectly balanced. For most healthy adults, this usually works out to about 2 to 3 liters of total fluid a day, and that includes water from food. But again, let thirst and your urine color be your guides. So what happened to Mark? We had to act fast. The treatment for severe hyponatremia isn't just to stop drinking water. It's to carefully and slowly give a highly concentrated salt solution through an IV. This has to be done in an ICU, because raising the sodium level too quickly can cause its own kind of devastating brain damage. It's a true balancing act. Over the next 48 hours, we were able to slowly bring his sodium back into the safe range. The swelling in his brain went down and he began to recover. The fog lifted, the confusion cleared, and the headaches stopped. Mark is back to his active life now, but with a new and profound respect for the idea of balance. He still carries a water bottle, but he doesn't force it anymore. He drinks when he's thirsty. He learned that in health, just like in life, more isn't always better. Sometimes it can be deadly. Water is essential, but balance is everything. Drinking too little is dangerous, but as Mark's story proves, drinking too much can be just as bad. So forget the rigid rules and start listening to your body. Let your thirst guide you, and let the color of your urine tell you the rest. If you found this story helpful, please give this a like and subscribe for more medical stories and health advice. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever worried you were drinking too much water? Has a doctor ever talked to you about your fluid intake? Share your experience, it might just help someone else. Stay safe and stay balanced.